chime in here?
Well, I think you guys are doing a great job. You know, what the sad part is, I believe that unfortunately, you know, Americans didn't know a lot. A lot of Americans didn't know about the Chechnya and Russia and the history of the violence and war. And unfortunately, I believe that it was kind of successful, you know, this bombing, because, you know, they brought the publicity and awareness of the Chechen issue, you know, to America.
You know, Greg or Kamal,
they may have done that.
Feel free to just respond.
That's a good point. They may have done that, but at the same time, they might have done it in a negative way, because I actually was aware of that. So as I said, my daughter lived in a neighboring country off and on, and so on. I don't know. I guess I've just known something about the Caucasus, but Chechnya, the Chechnyan rebels, the Chechen Liberation Group, were actually more friendly with the United States. And this actually points out the complexity of this. They're an Islamic group, so a lot of people in the United States might think they'd be our enemy, but they're not. They have opposed Russia and the Soviet Union, and in a sense, just like the grandparent organizations of Al Qaeda were our allies. When in Afghanistan, the Chechnyan Liberation Group is our allies in the Caucasus. Okay, so this is one reason why I don't think these kids were foreign terrorists, because the Chechen Liberation Group wouldn't attack Boston because we are on their side. When, you know, this is connected to the Ossetian thing, and when the Russians bombed Georgia a couple years ago during the election campaign, I mean, this is all connected. And the Chechnyan liberation people who want Chechnya to be independent and isolated, or independent from Russia, are our allies and our friends. Okay, so this would be kind of like finding out that a group of bombers from Israel bombed the Boston Marathon. Wouldn't make any sense. Maybe not that extreme, but it's kind of along that lines. So yeah, it made people aware of this group, but it backfires. I mean, the Chechnyan liberation people are probably going, "My God, who are these kids? What did they do? They've ruined our links to the United States." So I think that's why I don't think that's what this is. I don't think that they're working for the Chechnyan Liberation Group at all.
Right, Kamal or Christian, you want to comment on that? Kamal, do you hear us okay? I'm not sure. I don't know if we lost his audio, perhaps. Christian, did you hear what Greg had to say?
Yes, I did hear what Greg said.
Did you want to respond to it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Definitely, you know, wouldn't be in the interest of the Chechen group to cause violence on Americans. You know, I'm just saying that, you know, it just brought light to the issue. One interesting thing I read in the New York Times or somewhere was that there was an intelligence organization that actually contacted, I don't know if it was the CIA or whatever, Americans, and let them know that about these kids and that something was going to happen. Do you know what organization that was that gave forewarning?
I read that also. I don't think it ever said, but a foreign government's intelligence agency had supplied information about one of these kids or two of these kids in some kind of communication with somebody somewhere, but it wasn't Chechnya. I think it was another former Soviet state, but I don't remember the details. I remember it being said that they didn't know who it was, and the New York Times didn't know who it was.
I've heard nothing else about it, so I don't know if that was an intelligence failure or, you know, if that means anything.
Well, so, I mean, is your concern, Christian, though, that, are you just concerned that wherever this warning sort of came from, that ultimately the government didn't do anything about it, or are you concerned that, you know, that wherever these warnings were coming from, that just someone wasn't paying attention to it? Is that what you're kind of hinting at?
Well, I think it's kind of strange that we hear about this warning from a foreign organization, and then you hear nothing else about it. So to me, that would be an intelligence failure.
Right.
Yeah, it could be. It's also possible that piece of information might not be any better than the piece of information that said that there were 6 unexploded bombs recovered by the FBI, which is just a bunch of misinformation that got passed on. Also, remember that these kids lived in some of the countries. They lived in Chechnya. They were born there, and then I guess, well, I can't. No, they lived in various countries in the former Soviet Union countries for a while until they were a bit older, and they have family connections there, and they have links there. The possibility of this is something we've seen since 9/11 is a lot of people who are Americans who have connections with other countries have gotten in trouble because they just continue with those connections. In some cases, they're associated with some kind of charity they were giving money to. In other cases, they're just talking to people. So if you're an expatriate of any country, you're going to have links to people. And of all the thousands of expatriates that are out there, millions of expatriates that are out there, there's going to be hundreds of millions of links to people in other countries. And among those hundreds of millions of links, there's going to be thousands of them that come up as a flag warning when intelligence agencies look at the communications. And of those thousands and thousands of flags that get sprung every year as people make communications, a very small number of them are valid. I would hope a large number of them are investigated. So maybe it was actually an intelligence success. They made a connection, they looked at it, and then they moved on because there wasn't anything. Or maybe it will turn into be something. I'm not ruling out the idea that these guys were in touch with people who helped them organize a terrorist attack from some foreign group. I'm just saying that my gut feeling is that it's more like something different.
Right. And just quickly, Kamal, are you there? Do you hear us now? Do you guys hear Kamal?
I don't. He hasn't said anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So we were just talking about whether or not there, could have been a, whether or not we should be concerned about any forewarnings that took place, before this bombing occurred, and any sort of signs that came up. And so, should the U.S. be, or should the U.S. population be really concerned about what leaks there might have been and which things, were taken for granted or just totally ignored? What's your thoughts on that? Come on.
Max, I can't hear the question over there. It's sort of disturbance. Can you repeat that?
We were just talking about whether or not something was leaked and that there was an intelligence miss, that we basically missed some certain intelligence that came in, and how concerned should the U.S. population be about this continuing to happen, and certain leaks coming in that we're just ignoring.
Yes, absolutely. I'm coming up with this intelligence sharing over there. It's happened in 2010 when U.S. intelligence find a lead that there is someone hiding in Afghanistan named as Osama bin Laden. So they come up with this lead, find a fruitful result over there. In this scenario, we need to generate a task force where every intelligence agency of every country is finding a leak over there, the religious funding or any kind of people who are involved in how they are working to get their money spread to the needy, or they funding to the terrorist organization. We have to find out the way, a forceful way where we can limitize those people who are under the agencies who are working to find those kind of leads. So this needs to be addressed over there as well.
Christian or Greg, do you want to respond to that? Christian, did you hear that okay?
Yes.
All right, good.
I just think it's, my response is, I just think it's just really interesting that, nobody's talking about that failure.
Right.
Well, and this comes back to what I said earlier, that there was that thing which may or may not have been something. I'm not sure if there were one or two different things that happened. There was an international communication by an intelligence agency somewhere, and then there was also the FBI dropping in and looking at one of these kids. And I don't know if that was the same thing or two different things. That, alongside of searching the Watertown neighborhood and missing him by, depending on which report you believe, a few feet versus a half a block, and then calling up the search and a local homeowner noticing the blood trail and finding the guy. These are things that when you bring them up now, people get mad at you for questioning the authority and questioning the first responders and questioning their great efforts that turn out to actually catch them. So that's one reason why maybe it's not being asked enough, but we have to allow for the possibility that there really isn't anything there. I saw something a few years ago, like a television in-depth review or look from a news agency on Interpol, and they're interviewing an American. Was the American guy representing Interpol, and at one point he was literally in tears being interviewed because he was explaining, this is what we could do, this and this and this and this and this, but we just need $1 million a year. The American government gives us X dollars. We need $1 million a year, and we could do all these. We could have prevented all these other crimes, all these other events, if only we had that. And I wonder if we're doing the same thing to Interpol that we seem to be doing to the UN, which is saying, we're America, we don't need the rest of the world. We're not giving you our dues. We're not pitching in. And maybe we need to join the World Court, which was our idea. Maybe we need to join the UN and pay our dues, which was our idea. And maybe we need to invest more in Interpol, which was probably not our idea, but still something that is sort of like what Kamal was saying. Maybe we need to have better organization and fewer intelligence failures by having more people looking in on it and more resources spent internationally on it.
I can agree with what you're saying.
Right. Kamal, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we have to be on a regional cooperation in intelligence, a multi-continental information, intelligence exchange over there, where we can exchange a day-to-day or a week-by-week information, where we can find these kind of leads which can be harmful for any country. It's not we are talking about USA only. We have to talk about UK. We have to talk about Canada, any part of the world which are going to hurt by those kind of leaks. So we have to find a better way to communicate with our intelligence agency on a global manner.
Yeah.
Right. So, I guess an interesting sort of segue topic to just sort of bring up, and maybe, Greg, you've been speaking for a while, but we're happy to continue the discussion. I know Dre and Kamal, you just came in, but like, what do we think? How susceptible do we think, Americans and America is to these sorts of actions continuing to take place? Do we think that easily something could happen as soon as tomorrow, or do we think that there's going to be a little bit of a hiatus here before anything pops up, or do you think there's a reason why these sorts of attacks take place once every 10 years or every couple of years, just to sort of catch us off guard. Christian, you want to comment on that?
That's a great question.
Okay. What? Yeah.
Please go, Kamal.
Go ahead, Kamal.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. First of all, we have to admit that from the beginning of this speech that it's not a religious fundamental element, it's individual act which is hide behind the religion. So there is no force, no religion, either it's Islam, either it's Christianity, either it's Hinduism, either it's any kind of religion in this world, present in this world, to create terrorism. There is no teaching of any. I read many of the Islamic religion over there, religious book over there. There is no kind of terrorism or killing to humanity over there. So we have to admit that it is teaching. Number two, we have to come up with a point where how we can condemn these kind of attacks on a global manner. Either it's happening in Pakistan, we have to find a remark from states or different part of the world. If it's coming from any other countries happening in the states, we have to find out the way how to stop these kind of activities. We have to engage our youth in positive. We can minimize these kind of attacks, which is happening most of them in Pakistan, in the state by the youth under 18 over there. These attacks in last, if you see the stats over there in last 6 months. The most of the suicide attacks in Pakistan happen under 18 year children or now often the female women who are working to work for suicidal over there. So we have to find out the way how to control these brains, a youth brain over there. The intelligence network, definitely there are a lot to be done for the intelligence network over there, where we can find a better way to communicate among the intelligence within the region. We have this in Pakistan, Afghanistan. We have this in Pakistan, India. We have this in USA, Canada. So why not we create something like India? If we have to find any kind of criminal, we have to contact Interpol over there. Why not we can create a league intelligence sharing where is a platform where people can complain or XYZ thing happen in particular place. It's connected to XYZ country. Whether they are not going to that particular platform and address that issue. We have to focus on social media and tell the people over there, yes, we are over here. If you find any kind of irrelevant activity, can come to us and let us know. Mark your presence over here that something going to be happen wrong over there. So lots need to be done.
I agree. I think here's a couple of interesting things to think about in terms of the American situation. You know, when the Cole was attacked from Yemen by Al Qaeda, a boat was driven into a U.S. battleship or destroyer, and it blew it up. What most people don't know is that was, I think, the 5th boat. Okay, the previous 4 boats didn't make it to the Cole. A couple of them sank because they were so heavily loaded with explosives, or other things happened to them. The Navy got them to stop what they're doing. In other words, it took 5 attempts to carry out that one act. When September 11th happened, there is evidence that Osama bin Laden himself was shocked and amazed that they hit most of the targets and that the World Trade Center actually collapsed. Okay, it was actually the opposite of the Cole bombing. It was an amazing success that they did not see coming. Okay, so I guess the point there is that carrying out acts like this is actually, I heard once, but it might have been on a TV show that was fiction, I can't remember, that something like half of the small bombs that people make, like in suitcases kind of thing, blow up. The other half fail. Okay. So in other words, one thing to keep in mind is the success rate of terrorist acts is actually kind of low. If we believe what the FBI has been saying over the last few years, they have stopped terrorist attacks on American soil frequently. the Times Square bombing didn't happen because they stopped it. So there's actually been a number of times where it has been stopped supposedly, and I think there aren't any at-large terrorists that have attacked the United States. I don't think that any terrorist attack in the United States has yet gone unmet by catching and or killing the perpetrators of the act. Whether they're homegrown terrorists like LaVey and Rudolph, or Al-Qaeda, or whatever. So those are just interesting facts to point out that when we ask you, is this going to happen again? Is it going to become a more regular thing? It's a valid question to ask. But so far, the evidence is that terrorist attacks on United States soil have been attempted more often than they've succeeded, and they've been stopped or they've been answered to every time. So maybe it's just something that doesn't happen often here because our terrorists are incompetent, and our police forces are reasonably good at stopping them. And to me, the reasoning then is we do have to think more about the other side of this. The effect of terrorism is in giving the police and the government permission to clamp down more than we really want them to, rather than it is the events of terrorism itself that happens. And that's something that's actually a bigger effect. I think that, I was actually shocked and amazed a few years ago when I went to buy some Sudafed at the pharmacy and discovered that if I misrepresented myself as to who I was when I was attempting to buy cold medicine, it would be a violation of the Patriot Act. There's a big sign there, I think, the pharmacy that said that. We do more damage to ourselves in some way as a reaction to terrorism than the terrorists actually have managed to do to us. So whenever we ask the question, are there going to be more bombings or more attacks, we have to also ask the question, are we going to cut our own wrists also,
right,
as a result of these things over the next few years and months and so on.
All right, great. So Kamal, I think you just messaged me saying that you need to get you had to get running. So maybe we'll stop it right there.
I need to go too.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much, guys, for participating. And we look forward to having each of you back on again real soon. This was awesome. And please share it with your friends and let as many people know about what we're doing here at Vonvo, okay?
Thanks. Great show.
All right.
Thank you, Max. Excellent show.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye.